Welcome, coaches, to the Coaching Magic Podcast, where we reveal, discover, and create the insights, tools, and aha moments that make your coaching seem, well, magical. I'm your host, Jill Young, and I invite you to listen up, giddy up, and buckle up as we play with this creative profession of coaching that helps humans become their best, including you. Do you have that one person in your life who is kind of on the edges of your life? Maybe they don't jump in with lots of pizzazz, but when you are with them, you are just grounded and centered and you know what is real? Well, welcome to today's episode where I get to spend some time with Lynda Martin. Lynda Martin is known to many coaches as the wise, cool grandma. Many of the coaches in my personal circle will call her our spiritual mentor. So I invite you to really relax and listen to this. Let her wisdom sink in as she shares with us her many decades of experience as a coach. Enjoy. Lynda Martin, Lynda Martin. You guys, that's how I said good morning to Lynda today, so I felt like I wanted to push record and do it again because a song was coming through for my friend and yours, Lynda Martin. Lynda, I'm so excited to have you on Coaching Magic today. Hello.
Hello, Jill. It's wonderful to be here. I'm so excited to have our conversation that we've been having for so many years be shared.
Yes. When I was talking to Lynda about her being on Coaching Magic, I had some ideas of things we're going to do today, things that have been really impactful for me to learn from Lynda. And Lynda said, Jill, we always flow so well in our conversation that we're prepared. And of course we're prepared. But of course then in Coaching Magic, we like to prepare. So we've prepared a little bit, but Lynda, I'm so glad you said that because it feels like we've been preparing the whole time we've known each other.
Right.
The whole time we've known each other.
I would agree with that.
I would like to share something fun with all of the coaches who are listening to this episode of Coaching Magic. If you're watching this episode, you get to see it. If you're not watching this episode, you'll just get to feel it and hear it. And here it is.
Oh, okay. All right. There we go.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so Lynda and I both have our magic wands out. And they are these beautiful, it's probably made of some kind of plexiglass, plastic, but it has sparkles and glitter and all kinds of shapes of stars and moons and hearts. And as Lynda and I formed Wise Women together, what, is that 8 years ago now?
I think that's right.
As we formed that and then it kept growing and growing, Lynda bestowed me with this magic wand for having the idea and the courage and maybe just the follow through of starting Wise Women.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd like to start talking about today. Lynda, you have 3 ways that you describe yourself as a coach that you've shared with me. And you said, and you'll correct me if I'm not saying it right. You said, I am a wise, cool grandma.
Yes, and that came out of, I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but it really came out of a challenge that was at one point in my coaching journey almost crushing, which was that I didn't fit the model of how people see business coaches and business consultants. I didn't have a gray beard. Thank goodness.
Yes, thank goodness.
I wasn't, I wasn't, it was a lot about what I wasn't that the world around me seemed to want. They wanted a drill sergeant for a coach. I had a marketing partner here during a phase of my EOS life, and he literally had been a drill sergeant, you know?
Oh.
And then another kind of close competitor friend was what I call the extreme surfers of our world. Now, I would love to be an extreme surfer. I am going to come back as an extreme surfer and get dropped out of helicopters on 100-foot waves. I love that idea. In business, we have these people who, they're usually, I don't know, they're just really hard driving and full of crazy ideas, and I call them the extreme surfers. And I realized that I was trying to be them, and it wasn't working.
Wow.
I was trying to be something I wasn't. And so then I started looking at, well, how am I different? Well, I'm kind of old. I'm a grandmother. I focused on a softer approach, and we had done the Wise Women. And so I thought, my persona, I am going to embrace and love my persona. I'm going to be the wise, cool grandma. And when I shared that with some of my grandchildren who range in age from 3 to 35-ish, I said, and they said, yes, that's who you are. So if those closest to me see me that way. So it was kind of an enlightened self-interest, as my husband would say. It was kind of an enlightened self-interest move to create this persona. And I think as coaches, our greatest value, of course, is what you call the magic, the piece of us that is unique and sparks something. And recently I had a client who's, high tech, really driven, very, very, very smart. And he had one of the extreme surfers as a coach for a while. And he said, yeah, I think that's what we needed at that time. But now what I've learned is that a team that has to embrace a new system like EOS or has to change and know themselves and manifest in a different way, it's really helpful to have someone who is encouraging and a little softer and gives them space to kind of stumble around and find it themselves, isn't always going, come on, let's go, and he said over the past few years that has been enormously valuable. So that was very confirming.
Lynda, thank you for sharing that story. And you used the word self-interest. Can you say a little bit more about that? That's maybe something I've never really heard you say it that way before. Could you dig into what that, how the coaches could maybe do some self-interest work of their own?
Well, and this really, I have to give full attribution. This comes from my husband, who is a psychotherapist and a pastoral counselor with a kind of Carl Jung focus.
Ooh.
He's retired now, but and he calls it enlightened self-interest, which is when we are doing something that is good for us, but also good for others. And so it is enlightened self-interest to identify fully who we are, to know ourselves, because it gives us a better foundation for action, but it also is authentic to other people, encourages them to be authentic, and it's a real interaction.
I'm just going to let that hang there for a minute. To fully discover who we are, know ourselves. I love, Lynda, that you went to your grandchildren and said, is this who I am? After you did this work that feels playful to me. I know, as you were doing drill sergeant, you were trying to fit yourself into a drill sergeant type
Can you imagine?
extreme surfer. I know that maybe was some hard work, but it feels to me that once you came to this wise, cool grandma, you checked it out with the people who love you and know you the most. They said yes, and then you applied who you are, your enlightened self-interest, to your business. And it feels to me so much lighter than extreme surfing. Coaching magic is a lot about just finding your own style. And I love how you started with that sometimes we come into coaching saying, I need to be like her, or I need to be like him, or I need to learn, I need to read more, I need to follow this thing. I want all of the rules, I want all of the structure so I can be the best or be this perfect model of what the world thinks a coach is. And then of course we know if we took all of the coaches and we averaged them, nobody wants that. Nobody wants an average coach. Every human is different on the planet. Every team is different. So clearly we need so many different types of coaches, so many different styles. So coaching magic is about helping people understand their own style, their own magic, if you will. You've discovered and created Wise Cool Grandma, but I'm wondering if you could, for us, like walk us through some of the feelings and sensations, maybe some contrast, how you felt before when you were trying to fit the mold, trying to grow a gray beard. I just love that. Trying to fit yourself into this mold, and then now where you just know who you are, and you are Lynda. You're Lynda, Wise Cool Grandma. Walk us through maybe some sensations and some feelings that are different now.
You know, trying to fit myself into what is a different kind of energy than mine was exhausting. You know, we talk about hitting the ceiling and experiencing frustration, like banging our heads against a wall. And being able to see that I was frustrated. I wasn't feeling impactful, and trying to hold a place, whether it's a 1-hour coaching session or an all-day strategy session, what you're trying to hold is so artificial that it's draining. It's like, you know, I'm a little bit of a Star Wars fan, and so, you know, if you imagine you're generating this force field, and it's not, you're using the wrong kind of energy. You're using the wrong kind of core energy. And so that was one thing I learned, was that it was exhausting. And then, if I was honest, it wasn't really working for my clients either.
Neither one of you. Oh, Lynda, I love this reveal, because sometimes, especially beginner coaches, I know I did it, and maybe you did it. I think you're describing that you did do it. I'm just like, wherever I can be, I'll adjust my energy for you. I'll do this. I'll jump around. I'll jump through hoops to get you what you want. But Lynda, they weren't getting what they needed either.
No.
Wow. It doesn't work for anybody, and it's probably exhausting for both parties.
Yeah.
I've had a recent experience, this is in the last 2 or 3 weeks, where I've been talking to 2 teams in particular, but this happened one time last year too, where I said to them out loud, I don't think my coaching is working for you. We keep, Lynda, and thank you, you're just revealing this. I'm seeing myself in these situations over the last maybe 6 months with these 2 or 3 clients, where I noticed that they were not hitting their goals. They were not they were not being open and honest with each other. They were not doing the things that we agreed to in one session, and they'd come back and they're like, no, we didn't do this. And why isn't anything working? And I'm like, I'm frustrated, they're frustrated. And I just said, I'm out of tricks. And I love them. But maybe, Lynda, just the energy is just wrong and it's not working for them. And they wanted it to work and I wanted it to work. But we've just backed away. Maybe they needed something else. And for a coach, like Lynda, you're giving us a masterclass in knowing yourself and then just back away from things that are not on your energy path. And I'm just noticing that that's maybe what I did naturally too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, I love that so much of what we're hearing these days really mirrors what ancient wisdom traditions have taught us all along.
Oh, to say more. Everybody get your
Well,
pens ready. Get your pens ready. Open your hearts. Lynda's about to drop a Lynda bomb on us. It's so lovely.
well,
A
I
Lynda
mean,
flower.
this is very commonly heard now. What's the essence of a good leader is that they care and that they know themselves. Well, this goes back thousands of years. There's a temple in Greece that has know thyself at the top of the temple. That was the purpose of participating in a wisdom tradition. It's all over the Bible. It's all over just every wisdom tradition I've ever dug into. The hardest thing is to see yourself clearly and let your ego take its proper position and not dominate and not, there was a point where my ego was tied up in me being able to be as good as any, coach, right? But that's not effective. It's not why I'm here. And so I just love that so many leadership programs now are saying you have to know yourself. And here are, 250 assessments and 360-degree things and stuff you can do to learn to know yourself. It's a journey. It's hard work.
Yes.
But there are other things than assessments. But knowing yourself gives you a whole new burst of energy and the courage to be yourself, I think. So this has been the path of all the wisdom traditions. It wasn't so much about memorizing doctrine and being right and all that. It was more about if you do these disciplines, then you will kind of uncover that stuff you've put all over yourself and find out who you really are and be able to give that gift to the community.
The way you've just tied that from, I love you called it like wisdom traditions. And it's that word wise is right in your 3 words, wise, cool, grandma. Lynda, just reflecting to you what I see in you and what I've experienced from you, with you, is this wisdom is so core, and somehow you are able to see me and love me in my Jillness. But then you also are able to, I've seen you do this, love the other wise women in their unique gifts. And I'm just wondering if you've spent so much time in wisdom that this is just naturally coming to you. Now, sometimes when we see a talent or a gift in someone else, coaches, we start to think, oh, this comes to her naturally. So I'm wondering, like, this wisdom that bubbles up in you when you are being in your wise, does this come naturally to you, or is there something you do now that you've discovered it and created it and claimed it? Is there something you do to cultivate that wisdom that you hold us all in?
As I was thinking about what we were going to talk about, one of the things that I remember being so hard. You know, they say we teach what we need to learn, right? For me to slow down was and often still is so hard. And I remember, gosh, 20 years ago, standing up at a networking thing and talking about the power of the pause. And people were like, oh, I love that. But it, if we don't slow down, it, there's, we're just at the mercy of things around us. So again, we're hearing a lot about this, the power of the pause. Take a breath. Take It literally resets our brains. I always use the example of our ancestors running from a tiger. What are they doing? They're going, because this in our legs is where the power needs to go right now. Future thinking, digesting food, healing, doesn't matter, because if the tiger gets us, all that's off the table anyway. And then when you're done running from the tiger, what do? And it literally resets the strategic thinking in our brain, the future, the ability to think in a future way. It resets our hearts to kind of calm down. It opens the digestion system up again. And so because we as moderns are so under stress all the time, we can tend to live it. And so all these breathing techniques that we're learning, most of which come from ancient tradition that science is now saying, oh my gosh, look at this. Isn't this amazing? I'm like, yeah, it is. I'm glad you found it. Breathe deep. You can do that in any setting. It's just a matter of remembering. But it will literally pause the things you're doing. And I think rest is another piece of that. Whether it's resting into, I was planting dahlias yesterday and just digging in the dirt, being barefoot in the garden, the sun, the breeze, the birds, that's a kind of rest. Sleep is good, you know. There was once an idea circulating that, oh, wait, we don't need sleep. We can work through it. No, love it. Ugh. We can be very crazy. And then when you when you pause, when you breathe, when you rest, you can see more clearly. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of being so wound up that you did something really stupid, like ran over a curb or worse, or missed what somebody was saying to you, or missed an opportunity that was right there in your face, but you were just going too fast and too confused. So there are really three things. I mean, the power of the pause is really, really important, because now you can do the second thing, which is come from your central self, which is what we were talking about earlier.
Lynda, they're so simple. Pause, breathe, rest. They're right in front of us, and they're accessible to every coach right now. Every coach, every human, right now, in the present moment. Sometimes in coaching magic, we've got lots of fun definitions of magic, but one of them is presence. Presence. And all three of these bring us into the present moment. And that is how you continue to be wise. Is that what you're telling us?
Well, yeah, because then
So great.
all that noise, you can calm that noise and you can know thyself. Come from your own central wisdom. and create and build from that.
This is so deep and simple at the same time. We just started a new Coaching Magic school last Friday, was episode 1. We had a lot of fun, and one of the coaches in the school, she said something so cool, and I'm seeing it in your story too. Could it be true that we need to find our edges before we find our center? And I'm listening, Lynda, I know lots of your stories, and we've worked together, and we've been dear friends for many, many years. And I'm thinking about your story, and I'm like, oh yeah, Lynda found edges. Lynda found edges, and now here she is back in her center. So I'm really saying that because if you're a coach listening to this podcast and you're feeling like you are hitting the ceiling, coming up against an edge, beautiful that you found an edge. And can you bounce back to your center? Can you pause? Can you breathe? Come back to your center. If you bounce off a ceiling, well, you bounce. You're going back to your center.
Yes.
Beautiful to find your edges. Find your edges.
Another gym wisdom. He calls them growing edges. And he said, when he used to work with clients, he would say, they come in thinking that they have a pathology. Something's wrong with them.
Oh, something's wrong.
Because
Yeah.
they've hit an edge. When it's really the growing edges. He used to quote Carl Jung, who, if one of Carl Jung's clients came in and said, oh, this terrible thing has happened, or, oh, I got this promotion, everything's great, Carl would be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But if he came in and said, it's horrible and I got fired and I don't know what I'm going to do, he would be like, yes, now we have something to work with. So I think seeing them as, I see them as these beautiful, like the edge of a flower, these beautiful growing edges, or the edge of an expanding galaxy.
Yes.
We hit them and, oh, good, we have more to grow into.
Yeah. That's for me, that's the exciting part. That is that's the expansion part. That's the learning part. It's the discovery part. It's the creation part. I mean, I could go on and on. It's these edges. And really that's why we're doing these podcasts, to explore how different coaches have hit their edges and how they're crafting their own style because they've hit edges, the growing edges. Or maybe I don't even like the word hit an edge. It's just you've discovered an edge. I think that's what you said, Jim said. Oh, we've discovered an edge. How beautiful. Lynda, I'm going to ask you a vulnerable question. We'll see if we want to go there. But is there an edge that you're hitting right now?
Well,
or discovering or playing with, like we say in Coaching Magic. It feels a lot more playful. Are we playing with an edge?
Yes. Probably a few years ago, I thought about, well, do I want to retire? It's hard work getting up in the morning and going places. And, I have a beautiful patio that I could just sit on and daydream, but I felt that core love. So, we're talking about, you pause, you get to know yourself and get to know your center. And invariably what we find at the center is love. That's what runs the universe. There's an old saying, God is love, that for a long time I was just like, what does that even mean? And if we think of God as the power of the energy, that kind of quantum stuff that people are getting into, that it's the energy that runs the universe, that creates the galaxies, that creates our growing edges, then quantum leaps are the growing edge for me right now. getting into, the weekend retreats that we're doing. I'm starting to write a book. I'm scared to death. You know,
Look at me, I
what?
laugh. That's an odd reaction when someone says they're scared to death to laugh. But I look at Linda's face and she's giddy. She's like, here we go. I'm scared to
Yeah,
death with a smile
yeah,
on her face.
yeah. I'm jumping off a cliff. I'm on that 100-foot wave, and I'm just like, I'm in uncharted territory. I'm imagining things that I'm hoping will come to be. I know from experience that there are some big disappointments ahead because there always are. And I don't like those. I don't want to do that. I
That's
want to
the
stay
next
in my
edge.
little garden and be safe. And
Yes.
so then, having that internal power source and that desire, that understanding that giving and receiving is what fuels us in that love, then the growing edges aren't so harsh. And so, there are things about myself that I have been trying to fix forever. Some wise acerbic person said, well, Lynda, you fixed all the easy stuff. Now it's the hard stuff.
Yes. We fixed everything on the outer layer, but now let's go deep. Oh,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah. But it felt hard then.
Yeah.
What I was working on when I was 25 or 45 felt really hard then.
Mhm.
Trying to conquer this need to be the drill sergeant or the extreme surfer, to get out there with those entrepreneurs and prove to them that I'm as tough as they are. That was really hard to let go
Yeah.
of. I thought I was going to fail. I thought nobody's going to hire me because I don't fit the mold. And yet, now my practice flows much more easily. I have a lot more fun.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to contrast that with how you felt as trying to be the drill sergeant. How is it feeling now? And then everybody listen, coaches, listen to this. Sometimes in coaching, on the Coaching Magic podcast, Lynda, we take timeouts. Like, timeout, listen to what Linda's saying. She's still at an edge. She's still at this edge. She knows at her core this giving and receiving. And if you ever get to talk with Lynda, which I'm sure she'd love to talk with you about the infinity symbol of giving and receiving and the flow of that, please reach out to her. But she knows this, and because she is aware and embracing her style of coaching magic, she's now approaching her edges with flow and enjoyment and play, even though she knows there's going to be a disappointment. Because she knows her enlightened self-interest. Did I say that right, Lynda? Just beautiful. So if you're also dealing with your edge, if you're also bumping against your edge and you're feeling like it's giving you a bruise every time you bump it, it could be you bounce back to the core. Really help define your style. Lynda, it looks like you have something to reflect on that.
Yeah, I just, the opposite of love is not hate, it's fear.
Yes.
And the more we get into our core of being, at least in my experience, the less afraid we are. And as fear fades, then the fears of, there's a beautiful prayer that says, it is night, let our fears of the darkness of the world and of the darkness in ourselves rest in you. And that darkness is real. That darkness is scary. That we live in a world that bombards us with fears and appeals to ways that we are going to get a kind of security that is not real. And so we're never secure, we're never safe because we're well, I've got a great security system and a great 401k and I've got, no, good friends. Yeah, all that's important. And it doesn't get at the core fear, which is that we will be annihilated in some way. Well, that place within us that we know so well, as we know that more and more, we are less afraid of being annihilated. As coaches, that means we can be present to people and not be, I hate to use the word triggered, but not be, not have our fears kicked off by what a client has said. We can actually take a deep breath, dive down a level. Okay, yeah, that's one of my big fears. Okay, now how can I help them not react to fear? Because the decisions we make from a fearful place are usually poor.
Yeah.
And then again, enlightened self-interest kicks in because I just learned something about myself in doing that.
There's this lovely paradox in coaching that you're starting to describe. And I'm just going to pull this thread for a minute. When coaches don't have coaches, we then work on our own shit as we're coaching our clients. And there's always going to be some of that because humans change each other. Humans change each other. I'm in a coaching session and I am changed and I have my own aha. And that's beautiful. And Lynda, you and I've had so many of those experiences together. But if a coach isn't intentional on finding their enlightened self-interest, who they are, their coaching magic, they will work on their own stuff and it's not clear, like you said, the breathing, the rest, the pause brings clarity. Then it is not clear and we're both just working from a space of fear and we rile each other up when we frenzy each other up. And so thank you for bringing that up, that the coach, the more clear the coach is, the more expansive we can help and support and give and receive in that coaching relationship for the humans, for the teams that we coach. Just beautiful.
I think one of the things you've talked about in coaching magic about being unattached to the outcome comes in here because we do tend to want to fix people. And
Yes.
that can really get kicked into gear if where they're not fixed is a place where we are on a growing edge.
Oh, Lynda, say that again. That is so, like, okay, everybody get out your pens. Here's another wisdom. A Lynda wisdom flower. Say it again. So good.
If we are not aware of where our fears and growing edges are, and we're not consciously working on them, then when a client hits a place like they're trying to fix something in themselves, that we just go, oh my God, I'm broken there too, then it can get really cloudy and yucky. And that's the technical term. Yucky is the technical term.
Yes.
When it gets yucky, then it's like, oh, I need to go work on this with my coach or my therapist or my teacher because this is not the place.
Lynda, you've just turned that around for me. You have just turned that around for me. What you said is when I hit a net, when I'm coaching and I'm the coach and I'm coaching a human or a team, and I notice that I hit an edge, I can now take that and go work on that with my coach. Beautiful. That's a turnaround for me. How I've been seeing it in the past is if I see something that irritates me and my client, or I'm saying to my client, I must fix you. As soon as I hit that edge of me feeling that, I go, whoop, oh, I'm gonna go work on that myself. And now that I just said that, I think it's the same dang thing that you're saying. I thought it was a turnaround. I think it's the same thing. What do you think, Lynda? What do you feel?
Well,
Was I saying the
it's
same
like,
thing or is it different?
well, it's like everything else in life. There's a balance. I mean, there might be a little you can do right there in the room for both of you. And this is about them, not you.
Yeah, that's right.
So jotting it down in some form or fashion to go deep yourself. And you might be able to come back to them at the next session and go, I've been looking at this place we hit, and here's something I've learned. And that's where being vulnerable comes in. You
Yes.
know, it
There's
really irritated me. And you're so right. Being frustrated, irritated, wanted to jump in and fix, those are all signs that they're hitting something that you're need
that
to be
I'm
working
also
with.
hitting.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm hitting my own edge.
Yeah.
There's so much coaching magic going on right now that it's swirling. I'm going to take a deep breath. Thank you. Thank you for that loveliness. I think we've said all that needs to be said. There was so much I was going to tie into coaching magic, and then when I took the deep breath, it's like it's there. I had one of the coaches that I coach. She said the other day, as she reflected on my coaching style, she said, you have a way of teaching and then just letting it hang and letting the client, the team, the group of coaches pull the thread together for themselves. So maybe that's what I'm experiencing right now, my own coaching magic of just, I don't need to pull the thread together for anyone listening to this podcast. Maybe you're going to pull it together in a 200 different ways.
I had such an amazing experience of that at a session just yesterday. I coach a team that all speak Mandarin, which I do not. Not even
Lovely.
close. Yeah.
Talk about edges, growing edges.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And we had two people remoting in from China. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a hybrid situation. It's a Saturday, which I don't really like, but it's up in the mountains, which is cool. And there's this team dynamic they've been working on ever since I started working with them that is just, it's messed up. I'm sure they wouldn't mind me saying this. And I have 5 Mandarin teams. Okay, so you won't know which one this is. Anyway, the dynamic was that the leader said, we need to process this in Chinese. And I agreed with him. I felt a little left. At first, I was like, well, then what's my purpose? It was so fascinating to be the detached coach. And I literally was drawing an energy map as the interchanges were happening. Just, I had to be detached from the outcome because I couldn't even understand what they were saying with no words. And body language was helpful to some extent, but again, different culture. And so it's like going deeper and deeper into that soul level, into that center level. What are these humans doing with and for and to each other? For an hour, I listened to Mandarin and could not participate except as an energetic fulcrum point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Lynda, what a gift. What a gift for you to practice and be in your most Linda-ness. What a gift. And even though we're unattached to the outcome, I kind of want to know the outcome. What did you feel? What did you feel?
It's even deeper than feeling.
Oh my
Because
gosh, deeper than feeling.
there was a part of me like, is there tension there? Should I be monitoring that? I don't know. I did jump in once just to say, are we still on topic or something like that? And there was like we need to, but it was, now that you're asking that question, part of what was disturbing to me was that I wasn't getting a lot of feeling and a lot of energy to work with. It was just, but there was just this, And so I sat down with the founder after to check my perceptions and to find out what had really happened. And it's not that I was spot on or spot off it was like that didn't even matter. It was just, he got to a place of clarity he needed to be. Others got to a place of clarity that they needed to be. And he said, you did really well. I don't, again, I don't quite understand what he was saying. That's one of my growing edges, but something worked.
Yeah, something worked. Lynda, in Coaching Magic, and you are a graduate of Coaching Magic. You're also, I feel like, OG Coaching Magic before Coaching Magic even existed. But one of the elements of Coaching Magic is create space. And I'm just feeling so much of your sharing of this story with us. Thank you. Thank you for that. Was just creating space. And the image that came to my mind was maybe like a palm on the back. Like how, I know with my adult sons, sometimes when they're talking about something and I can sense that it's their growing edge to talk about something, I've just put my palm on their back and they just relax into and find some clarity. And so I'm equating that to, that's how I sensed your story. It's just a palm on the back, like I'm here. And that's
And
all.
that makes me remember other times when I've been coaching I've been doing this a really long time, 30 years. When I've been coaching someone and I really don't understand what they're talking about. They don't have to be speaking a language that's foreign to me, to be speaking a language that's foreign to me, either an emotional language or a technical language, but they're going great guns and they're talking about it and I'm trying to keep up with what's happening here. But the words, it's not me. I don't need to know the words. They are getting clear. And then when they come to their clear point, they can say it to me in words I understand. And I always say it so simply that even I can understand it, because then I know you've got it.
Ooh, Lynda. Say it again so simply that even I can understand it. Someone who doesn't speak your language or doesn't know all the acronyms in the business. We don't need to know all of that. You're sensing the energy. You've created space for the energy to flow, for the clarity to arise. And then that tidy bow is so beautiful because then everyone knows what they've just agreed to. Whew. Lynda, we only got through one of your words today. Wise, cool grandma. So maybe we're going to need some more Coaching Magic episodes. But I do want to end with there's something you said to us in Coaching Magic School when you were in the school about a year ago that really has stuck with me. It's stuck with many of the other coaches in Coaching Magic. I hear it come up on Playground a lot. And it was something like, if Oh, geez, now it's going away from me. But here's how I say it, and then I would like you to put your Lynda flair on it. If we're going to assume in the positive. And it was something you said around where we're spending a lot of our thoughts worrying about something. Oh, there we go. We spend a lot of our time worrying about something we don't even want. Could you, just for the last few minutes of the podcast, could you riff on that for our coaches who are listening?
So I got this from somebody else, and I don't remember who they were.
All of
A
our
teacher
ideas come from
somewhere.
somewhere
Yeah.
else, right? Even if it's from source or spirit or a book we've read, like they all come from somewhere else. But this one's now yours, Lynda.
Okay, I'll take
Yeah.
it because it's been really helpful to me. I can be really anxious and really a worrier. And so what this person said was, worrying is using our creative energy to create a world we don't want.
Yes, that's how you said it. It's the creative energy that's so powerful. And when we're worrying, we're using that such our powerful creative energy to create something we don't want. That's so absurd.
It is. It is.
I
We
mean,
have to laugh at ourselves.
it is. It's so
We
absurd
are
that we
funny.
laughed and we
Yeah.
giggled. We've giggled about that. How absurd that is.
Yeah. But we all do it, especially at 2 a.m,
Yeah. And I'm just going to bring us back to some beautiful points you've shared with us in simplicity, that if we're like, oh my gosh, I'm worrying, I'm using my creative energy to create a world I don't want, because our energy and our thoughts do create the world we are in right now, like we've created this, then we pause and we breathe and we rest.
And then I would add, then we can sink into our center and find this wellspring of joy and love. I always I've envisioned it different ways, but lately it's this sparkling wellspring of water, with all the colors of the sunlight on it, and just that joy, that dance of the water that we are doing. And from that love, then we create in a different way. It doesn't become all, fairies and rainbows and unicorns. It because unicorns have sharp horns, and they were dependably fierce in the
That's right.
stories. So,
Oh yeah.
So we are fierce beings, and we get hurt, and we hurt, and being able to continuously go back to that wellspring of love is what happens when we pause. And I love that is now permeating at least the entrepreneurial business world, that put the love in it.
Yeah.
The love is everything. How much you care is everything.
Yeah. How much you care is everything. Well, I think that's a beautiful way to end this podcast, with coming back to our core, back to our center, back to our enlightened self-interest. And I'm going to play with that, just imagining it as a wellspring of sparkly water. Thank you, Lynda. I love you.
Thank you, Jill. I love you too. This is so much fun.
Thank you for playing with me today in the land of coaching magic. If you want more magic, I invite you to explore www.jillyoung.com. This is where you can see all the shenanigans I've created for you to expand your world of coaching. See you there. And remember, you are magic.